Good afternoon. I have with me Willie Els. He's from the Institute of Security Studies, uh, an expert in terror specifically. Willem, welcome and thank you for talking to us.
Hello, Isaac. Thank you.
Willem, we are talking about the attack this past weekend in Mozambique, Cabo Delgado, specifically Palma, and the terrible things that have happened there. Please, can you just give our viewers a little bit of a picture of what happened there?
Okay, Isaac, what happened there is, this insurgency dates back to 2017, and where there have been various attacks, it escalated until the peak that was reached in more or less September last year. Then it was a raining season, and attacks went down, and so people got a bit more relaxed about it. And then at the end of the day, Total that has withdrawn from the Afungi that is right about 25 kilometers away from the town of Palma. They actually announced on the day of the attack that they're actually returning and they're going to resume their operations there. The attack came at a very bad time for them because in the aftermath of that attack, they then announced that they are putting everything on hold again. The town of Palma it's a town of about 68,000 people, 25 kilometers away from the Afungi, and there were just over 3,000 expats living there as well, working as contractors, subcontractors, and also in the hospitality industry, providing services to the Total Afungi Peninsula, where they are building their refinery. So what happened was these people attacked. They were very precise. They were well planned. They were well armed, and they started to soften up the small little villages up to Palma. And on the day of the attack, it was well coordinated attack. They moved in and they started to kill very discriminately. Though in the beginning they knew where all the people lived that they wanted to take out, the people working for government, the police, and the attack as it raged on. We see that the military actually fled. Group or the Dike Advisory Group was still in the vicinity, even though they were busy demobilizing because it was the end of their project, their contract there. They actually intervened and they started to attack these insurgents. They kept them back, and many of these expats managed to escape. They extracted a lot of people from there and ferried them off to the Afungi to safety. So at the end of the day, the insurgents actually overran Palma, and they took control of Palma. It was horrible. We know that in one incident there were 17 vehicles that tried to escape with some of these expats. 7 of the vehicles of the 17 actually made it through the ambush that was laid by the insurgents. Some people got killed. Some of the other people then fled into the bushes. Some made it to the beach, where they were picked up by some of the DAG helicopters, but also by some vessels that were actually passing the area, and they actually diverted to come and pick up some of these people. So it was chaos. It still is chaos in Palma.
What is the underlying factor? What is the motivation for these attacks?
What happened is, this is a situation, it's an insurgency that started off in 2017. It started as a very localized attack. They went to Mozambique prior. They freed their fellow or their comrades that were actually locked up by the police. And that was the first attack. Ever since, it started to escalate and escalate. They gained confidence. They managed to get hold of weapons, etc., etc. But we see that towards the middle of last year, they actually, of 2019, sorry, they swore an allegiance with ISIS. We saw how they then became much more professional. The training was better, the coordination was better, and we could see that the armament was also became better. So they became a force to be reckoned with. Apart from that is that what used to be a localized insurgency now actually panned out, and it started to become a regional conflict. We saw that the people that were arrested, we just had reports today that more than 500 people have been extradited from Tanzania that were arrested there. Many of them were from countries like Somalia, Kenya, from Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, the DRC, etc. So this became a regional challenge, as many of these people that are fighting there are not local anymore. It is people that joined them. Those people will fight there. We also know that there are South Africans that are there. And these people will, at the end of these insurgencies, they will return back to their countries. And we know what happened in the aftermath of the war in Syria.
Are we talking about ISIS here?
You know, it's very debatable. There are many scholars that believe that ISIS is not as involved. We actually, our research and what we found, our analysis is that they swore allegiance with people, and ISIS is really involved. ISIS is not only involved doing the fighting itself, they are providing guidance, they are providing financial assistance, they're also providing training to these people. Remember that Mozambique is part of the central province in Africa for them, and that includes also the DRC, where we can also see there's a collaboration with the ADF and the MTM that is operating in DRC. The cross-pollination, and also we indicated, or we found that some of the armament that they are using is actually coming from the DRC as well.
Should South Africa become worried? I know the Wet Potgieter wrote a book about extremists in South Africa. He was taken out for it, basically, and laughed at. What is happening here?
I think at the end of the day, it seems that Mr. Potgieter has been vindicated. We see that there are reports that South Africans actually joined in the fight there. One of the most prominent people was actually involved. He was arrested with the Tulsi twins. He testified in that case as a state witness, and as soon as he got a gap, he actually jumped the fence and he joined them along with some others that are there. So there are South Africans there, and we also know that when Minister Pandor actually did a statement that South Africa will assist Mozambique, there was a statement by ISIS that says that should African troops become involved there, they will then wage some attacks here in South Africa. We don't want to fearmonger. We just need to know that we should not have our head in the sand, and the so-called ostrich syndrome should not be part of our planning. We should be aware of the threats, because if you look in the past, what happened with a country like Cameroon, when they were warned not to get involved, these people not to get involved with Boko Haram and the fight there, they ignored that, but they also were ill prepared for what followed, because many attacks took place within, and still are taking place within Cameroon. So I don't say we have to fearmonger now. We have to be diligent. We have to know that should this come, we have to be prepared.
And being prepared, I want to ask you this: how will this sort of attacks of ISIS look if it comes to South Africa? Because I assume that they won't be able to do a full-scale attack with an army like they did in Mozambique, but maybe more terror attacks like in Europe and other places in the world.
Yeah, if we look at Europe, I mean, ISIS went back to Europe, the FTFs went back to Europe, and we saw the type of attacks that they did. Typically, these people will target your shopping malls. They target in Belgium, they target at the train station, they also target at the airport. So they will go for high value targets where there might be a lot of expats. The reason for that is we see that in the attack on Palma, it was the first attack where they specifically targeted expats. And before that, about 2,500 plus people, local people, were killed in this insurgency, and it hardly ever reached the headlines. But the moment they targeted expats and some expats are reported to be killed, the world took notice. Remember, an act of terror is an act of communication. They want to put out a message and they want to be publicized. And so in South Africa, they will most probably attack these type of targets, and also some of the foreign missions of the countries that they've got something against, like America and the allies.